كيف حالكم؟
الحمد لله.
عيد مبارك. الحمد لله رب العالمين. ما شاء الله ما شاء الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر.
ولله الحمد.
الحمد لله رب العالمين. You know, it's very important what we're going to talk about today. Why are you here anyway? What's this today's class about? Now, why'd you come here first and foremost? Why? Learn is too general. Okay? Learn. If you want to learn, I can teach you some Tai Chi. You come, you don't bring the foot down. You know, what did you come to learn? What'd you say?
Learn Islam.
Learn Islam. That's too general.
Okay.
Okay. No, what somebody else said? Tafseer. That's too general too. You know, you're never going to learn. And first of all, turn off your phone. Make sure I turn off mine. You have to have clearly defined goals in order to accomplish anything. Okay? I came here today to teach you how to learn. Isn't that what we're doing? The usul talab al-ilm? So the tone of our class changed when we went from the usul al-din, right? The objectives of the Sharia, right? Maqasid, then we went through the 5 ahkam plus 2. We did those things, right, for a reason. Now the tone should change to meet what our objective is, and our objective is learning how to learn. Because the people of the past, they used to say, we used to learn how to study before we went and started to study. Okay, what's the first? So now let's clarify. Why are you here? Stop. Hesitation? Okay, because see, that's what stops you from learning. What stops you from learning, one of the things, you have to get off my wall. Okay? No, I did? Old is a definition for, something else, Old is here. Okay? Seriously. Hey, there's a famous scholar, warrior. His name is Turgut Al, okay, or Turgut Pasha Al, okay. Now Turgut Pasha, he's the most famous Turkish, Turkey didn't exist, Ottoman warrior.
He didn't die until 125.
Thank you. He died at 125 years old. What was he doing?
Fighting.
He was on the battlefield. And what did he use? An axe. An axe that was so heavy, a regular person couldn't pick it up with one hand. At 125, he died. He was martyred. Okay? Because you don't die fighting. You become martyred. There's a difference. Allah tells us, don't say that the people who are murdered on the battlefield that they have died. Okay? But they're still living with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They've been raised up. And Allah knows their reality, and we keep it with Allah's reality, not our, what we see of our reality has a roof, like on this building. The true reality is like the sky that we see. It has no ending. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we have to, see it through Allah's reality. One of the things Allah told Musa to strike the sea with his staff. Do we really think that he needed the staff to split the sea?
No.
But he made him do something from the physical world. When he told Maryam, right, to shake the tree. Do you think all these men here, if we shook a tree, dates would fall? No. But Allah made her do some physical act. So we have to do something in this reality, but Allah makes it His reality. Well, He has His reality. He makes it happen the way He wants it to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So whatever we do, we're striking our stick, we're shaking the tree in our particular dunya, however that must be. But that was a sidebar. Now, the purpose for you coming here is what?
Purpose for being here is to learn how to learn.
How to be a student, how to study, how to learn.
Okay, but that's still too general because there are 5 usul of the talabul ilm. Which one did you come to study today?
Today we are working.
Which ones did you do? Which ones do you know?
The objective of the Sharia.
No. That's something different. Think about the question.
The student with his teacher.
We did the adab of the student with his teacher, right? Then what else did we do? With himself. Okay, with himself. Did we do the adab of the student with his companions? We touched on it, right? Did we do the adab of the student with his lesson?
Yes.
We touched on it. We touched on all five, basically, but we didn't go specifics in those particular things. I told you to do reports, right?
Yes.
And I'm gonna give you more time to do the report because I know that over the weekend I was swamped with the Eid and everything. The Eid happened so fast because it's the Eid of Hajj. So I was getting calls from people at Hajj and things like that, and I was just so busy. I said, man, if I was so busy, I can imagine that you guys could do with some more time. And that way you can't say I didn't have enough time. Or my report is deficient because of I didn't have enough time. And those people who came and said, oh, it was today, they don't have an excuse. Next week. Okay, Monday. Is that fair? Yes. No. Well, if those people who dare who don't want to look over their papers and they're finished, McDinish, I will accept them at the end of the class, inshallah. Okay, is that fair? Okay. No. There ain't no looking and tell me where it's deficient and then give it back and let me do it again. No. It's gonna be done. All right. So right now there are a few things that I want to teach you. Number one is, what's the first word that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran? Iqra. What does that mean? Read. Okay. Read, recite. It's basically the same thing. Now, when I was growing up, there was this term. It was R-I-F. I dated myself. Everybody who remembers this is telling you.
Reading is fundamental.
What does it mean?
Reading is fundamental.
Nowadays, they say it differently. They say readers are what?
Leaders.
Say it again.
Readers are leaders.
Say it like you mean it.
Readers are leaders.
The average American reads 3 to 4 books a year. Is that fair to say? If that, okay? 3 to 4 books a year. The average CEO in the United States reads at least 3 to 4 books a month. 3 to 4 books a month. Okay? As far as the president is concerned, well, not this president, but as far as every president, I think since Kennedy, has brought in speed reading coaches for the White House staff when they took office. Every president since Kennedy has. Why did they want to bring in speed reading coaches?
So they can read more.
Because anybody who's in big business, corporate business, knows that people in their jobs spend about 4 hours a day reading, right? You're reading those contracts, you're reading those emails, you're reading those memos, right? You're reading policy and you're making policy, you're rereading and you're editing, right? Attention to what? Details as you're reading. So if you can read more efficiently, you can do more work, right? Yes. If you can comprehend, but most people consider, that if I read faster, I'm going to lose what? Comprehension. And so if you told yourself, I'm not going to understand so well, then you're definitely not going to read faster, right? Now, I have a rule. I'm not going to tell you how many books I read a week, okay? But at least I read 1 book a week. At least. And I'm not talking about reading Quran, because that's at least finishing it every how many days? 60 days. It's not fair because I'm a Quran teacher, so I get to cheat. People are reciting to me Quran all the time. Plus, I get my little bit of reading is not comparative to what the people get to recite to me. So I cheat from them. But reading and building your mind, every time you read something new, you build more, mind cells, brain cells. The brain is a muscle, just like you figure your arms and everything. If you don't work out your arm, what happens? What's the term? Atrophy. What does that mean? It wastes away. The muscles start to flab, right? Deteriorate, die. Okay? The death of muscles, of tissue. And the same thing happens mentally. Okay? The same thing happens mentally. If you don't use it, you lose it. So as a rule, I will kick you out the class if this happens 3 weeks in a row. Everyone has to read one book a week from now on. How many books a week?
One book.
Now, the average book has like 65,000 words in it. Okay? I think that's the term that they said. My numbers might be incorrect. But they divided it and they said it takes about 300-something hours to read the average book. Okay? In English, Arabic, French, whatever. Okay? The average book on any subject. This book, I got this book today, it's called Babel. Okay? It's about something I'm interested in. Languages. Okay? It's about the 20 most used languages in the world. Right? Now, I was going to bring in the last books that I read over the last couple of weeks. But I said, we'll start this. We're going to have a book list. Anybody remember that from school?
Yes.
When we have our children, I used to teach 5th grade, I used to teach 3rd grade, and we had a book list. Every week the children had to read at least one book, and their parents would keep track of that. You guys remember that?
Yes.
Well, there's a few things. Number one, when did you stop reading if you didn't? I'm not saying to you to say. But remember how you used to read? I remember being in school. When I first went to school, I went to school for law school, then I changed it over to medicine and stuff. We used to read like 100 pages a night just to get ready. When you walked in that class, the teacher expected you to have read the whole chapter. And I wasn't going to be the one to step in there because everybody thought you didn't belong anyway because you're brown. You get my point? So you had to be ready. You had to have your stuff on point when you walked in that classroom. So when did we stop having that type of dignity? When we got comfortable. As I stated before, mediocrity or comfort has the biggest thing that has taken us down than anything else. Right? So now we're gonna crush that because we're gonna start reading one book a week. Now, if you spend 30 to 40 minutes a day, you can finish a book in 7 days. Average book. 7 days. You have to build the habit. One of the things that we're talking about how to be a talib al-ilm. Those who dare to teach must never cease to learn. That's not just a mantra. We're not teaching rhetoric. We're teaching things we can think about and what they call it, mission statements. So that we can figure out what am I supposed to be doing now? How do you kill procrastination? By having a life. Okay? By having some business. When they say idleness is the playground of who? That's not just a statement. That's reality. Look at how listless the children are in the street. Why? Because their parents maybe they don't have parents, or the parents are too busy, so it's like they don't have parents, so they don't have any direction. Okay? No one's told them what to do, so they're not doing anything but what they can think of, which is little to nothing, or destructive behaviors. And destructive habits become destructive characteristics of a person. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, if I'm your teacher, and you trust me, you want to learn, then multiply it into action. Because what I say, 1,000 could be the best class in the world, and I believe it is because I'm the best teacher in the world. Okay? I mean, the prophets have passed away except for Isa, so I can make that claim. The thing about it is, some people say, oh man, that class is really good. Really good times 0 equals what? 0. You get my point? But if you multiply it by 1, then you become really good. That's just putting 1%. That's my Abu Talib physics. You guys follow me?
Yes.
Okay. One book a week, and we're going to keep a list. Okay, to encourage each other. Because some type of peer pressure is good. And then and we're not liars. Anybody's a liar, raise your right hand. You're a liar. No, it's not I'm teasing, but we're not liars. So if we didn't finish, we said we didn't finish. But we have it there, and then we can encourage them. We can make dua for each other. Isn't that right? And isn't it easier to fast in Ramadan?
That's because everyone's doing it.
Say it again.
It's easier because everyone is doing it.
And everyone is doing it, right? So it'll be easier to read one book a week. Okay? Why? Because your classmates are doing it. And it's also from the usulul adab of the student with his companions. We call it the rule of 10 and 5. Okay? The rule of what?
10 and 5.
You are the 5th person out of all your 10 closest friends. Meaning you're the average person. So if you got 10 friends and they all smoke weed, guess what you are? A pothead. They say that the amount of money you make is the average of the 10 friends you got. Because birds of a feather? Okay? So if you look at your companions and see what problems they have, and we can all look at our friends and we can tell them all the problems they have, that's a skill we have, then we have those similar problems because we are similar to them. And if you don't like that, get new friends. Okay? Seriously. And that's why we see people who are making it, they break away from that old crowd that they were with. Because that crowd, we talk about addictions, right? And habits. What do we tell a person who has addictions? One of the things they tell them to do?
Change your environment.
Change your environment. Get away from that circle. Right? That circle that keeps you going around and that, whatever that addiction is, find a new set of associates and circles and environments. And so we're creating ours by making sure that we all have a certain standard. And that standard has to be met, at least sought after. And that's not just by sitting down, not doing anything. Learning is not a spectator sport. Okay? It is not. And so you make new brain cells every week. You read whatever you want to. You can read a comic book. Anything counts. Because it's what you like. You get my point, guys? All right. Do I have your commitment?
Yes.
I will read one.
Program yourself. Remember before I told you guys, I said there were 10 steps towards being a talibul ilm. And I started to draw a picture. I said food. We were talking about brain foods. Right? Remember that?
Yes.
And I said there are memory tricks that you can do to remember those brain foods. One of them is, or not the brain foods, but remembering those 10 steps. One of them is to remember, let's say I pretend like, you have to have imagination. Imagination is intelligence, right? The ability not to see something. And we call that neuroplasticity. Just stretch your mind. You guys get my point? All right, so I imagine that my school is a castle. Okay? What is my school?
A castle.
And around my castle is a moat. But it's not a nasty moat with an alligator in it. It's a pool. It's got water in it. It's got nice fish in it, and you could actually swim in it. But there's a bridge over to get to my castle. Do you guys get that point?
Yes.
And on the other side, before you get to my castle, when you get to my castle, I have food laid out there. It's like a buffet. All the brain foods. You guys get my point?
Yes.
So when you show up at my castle, before you can get across the bridge, there is food. You eat that, you get those brain foods. Now, as you walk across that bridge, there's ants on that bridge. What's on the bridge?
Yes.
Ants stand for, and what's it? The Shaikh, what's his name? Daniel Yunus, I think his name is Daniel Yunus is his name. He wrote a book, and he talks about ants in his book. Ants is an acronym. It stands for A, and write it down. Ants.
Lewis.
No S, just ants. I call them ants plural like that, but it's ants. A-N-T. Now on my bridge, you have to stomp and kill all those ants. Every ant you see, you have to kill the ants. Okay? Everybody follow me?
Yes.
In order to get on the other side of that bridge, you have to kill the ants like a game. Any ants that come at you. You guys follow me?
Yes.
Ants are automatic, negative thoughts. You hear me?
Yes.
Do you hear me?
I do.
If you don't kill all these negative thoughts, all these ants, as you come across the bridge, you can't get in my castle. Okay, you can't get into my school, in my classroom. Sometimes in my classroom, and this is why I'm telling you the rules, because I think it's a privilege to be in my classroom. And if you don't think it's a privilege to be in someone's classroom, then you shouldn't be in that person's classroom. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because otherwise, you're going to be like, oh man, why am I here? I don't want to. And that's how we felt going to school a lot of times. You know, and we're going to talk about that. Remember, I'm talking about state. Okay? State. We talked about it before when I said to be a thermostat and not a what? Thermometer. Because of state. Okay? So remind me about that later on. Okay? State dependent. Think about that. Right. Now, where was I? I'm here. So, what happens in my classroom, I will promote. Assalamu alaikum, doctor. Alhamdulillah. I will bring up a thought, an idea, a concept that some people haven't heard of before. Some people haven't considered. And automatically the ants will come out from their sleeves, from their legs, out their bag. Yeah. And they will program themselves. They will reprogram themselves. Everything you say out your mouth, you program yourself. Say Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
So you just programmed yourself. If you say I can do it, you can do it. If you say I can't do that, guess what? You won't do it. I'm not going to say you can't do it, but you will not do it. Why not?
Oh, you say you can't do it?
No, I don't want to hear that. Tell me the science behind it.
You socially conditioned yourself to do that. You conditioned
That's wrong.
yourself.
Cognitive dissonance.
Oh, cognitive.
It's a cognitive. Inside, you were saying, hold on, I don't want to go against you, brother. I don't want to go against you, sister. We together in this. If you say we can't do it, then we won't do it. Memorize this. And you say, no, I can't do that. Okay, I'm not even going to try. Why? Because, I'm not going to oppose you. We're not going to be at odds with ourselves, right? I believe we can do it, but since you said we can't, then hey, baby, we won't do it. So that we feel okay with ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's why you feel, well, I didn't do it because I can't. See, now you still feel good, right? They say this, anybody who fights for their limitations gets to keep them. Say it.
Anyone who fights for their limitations gets to keep them.
Think about that. This is important for African descendants here in the United States. Because just like the Philistine people, a lot of people look at the Philistine in Syria, and they don't put it together, forget it for Africans in America. What did the Philistine people lose? Their land, right? And everybody can relate how that is so destructive. What did African Americans lose?
Their minds.
Everything. They lost land. They lost their families. They lost their language. And losing the family is more than losing your land. Okay? Identity crisis. And so in that gap of identity crisis, what was replaced? Programming. You ain't sugar honey, and you know the rest. You are not from Niger, but another pronunciation of Niger. You guys get the point? And this programming sets people up to program themselves to believe that they cannot, and so they do not. And so we have to deprogram. That's an Islamic issue. That we have to make it clear why we focus. Just like the Philistine focused on their issues, we have to focus on issues that are pertinent to our growth. And when I say African Americans, I mean the Boricuas as well, because they had the same situation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, we have to reprogram ourselves to believe what Allah has told us to do. That our ability is not like our shoe size. It's not limited. You can and will be able to do anything you put your mind to it. All you have to do is what? Tawakkal ala Allah. All you have to do is make dua, make effort. You have to shake the tree. You have to strike your stick on the ocean. And Allah will split this tree. Allah will make the dates come down. You have to do your part. And Allah tells us that. Does everybody understand?
Yes.
Some people say, well, what is a fitna? Well, astaghfirullah. What does astaghfirullah have to do with solving my problem? Allah says astaghfirullah is the solution. He'll make rain come down, midrara. Make it flow down and provide for you. You get my point? Go offer salah. But what's that going to do about this dude oppressing me? Allah told you to do that. That's when Musa did that when Allah told him to strike the stick with the ocean. What's that going to do? Hesitation?
Kill.
I would have came and got everybody. What if Madian would have said, well, I can't shake no tree. That don't make no sense to me. Right? But what made them do those acts? They believed in Allah, being Al-Qadir. You get my point? And this is where our Tawheed ties into our realities. Do you believe in Allah? I'm asking a question.
Yes.
Well, act like it. No, seriously. Information downloading with emotion leads to what?
Long-term memory.
Long-term memory. Okay? Because all learning is state dependent. You guys get my point?
Yes.
That's why I say show some emotion. You may not remember what I said, but you will remember how you felt about it. And that's why our education was so traumatic. Okay? Going to school, those who are my age, who were able to go to school for the first time with other people, still had to sit in the back. Those who were older had to worry about their life going to school. Right? So how much can you learn when that's your learning state? I'm asking you.
Not much.
Not much is retained, because what do you do with the negative emotion? You try to depress it, right? So, and if you learn the stuff, you want to depress it so you don't remember it. And if it does, it causes you trauma, because that's a long-term memory, whether you like it or not. So that's why I say we have to relearn, reprogram in a positive environment. But what we know is we believe in Allah. Allah is capable of doing all things, and all we have to do is do what? Not just trust, ask Him. Ask Allah. If it's important to you, then get up and offer salah. Get up and make dua. That's one of our superpowers. Didn't I tell you that before?
Yes.
Yes.
That is our superpower. And like we said, they say nowadays, knowledge is power, right? Even though there's no real power, okay, in that sense, except Allah. But we know knowledge allows you to do more. So if knowledge is quote unquote power, then what's our superpower? Reading. You guys get my point? Reading. It becomes a superpower. If you could just take a book and download it in a few seconds now, and how many years someone took to get the information and put in that book, and now you get it in a matter of days. Does that make sense? How someone writes a story and uses historical line, and now you get that in a couple of days. How many years? I said somebody who reads is a time traveler, right? They've lived for all these things. They got to witness these things, especially if they have an imagination. And TV don't do that, because TV provides you an image. So your brain shuts down and doesn't use its own imaginative mind. Right? It provides you with voices, so you don't use your own imagination and come up with the sounds in yourself that are so subliminal. You see, because learning done best is in that subliminal stage, right? Yes. Where you've taken yourself out of this reality. You see someone who's reading, he's not there. She's just looking, right? They're not there no more. They're taking themselves into that subliminal stage between this reality. They can hear things, but they're not paying any attention to it because they're in those pages. And that's the easiest way for knowledge to sink in. Does everybody follow me? Yes. These are tricks of the trade, for real, because we talk about, I tell you it's not enough to be motivated and have desire, but you have to have purpose and direction. I've said that to you guys before. Direction means the mechanics, the actual applicable things to do in order to learn. Does everybody follow me here?
Yes.
Because a talibul ilm is exactly that. He is the best learner on the planet, because he has superpowers that no one else has. He makes dua, wastaghfirullah, wattaqullah wa yu'allimukum Allah. And fear Allah, be conscious of Allah, and Allah will teach you. And Allah will teach you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Meaning Allah will make you understand things that no one else can make you understand. But there's a condition to it. Wattaqullah. Be conscious and mindful of Allah. Now, asking Allah is the other way. Go up there in the middle of the night and make dua. Read. Make the practice. Shake the tree. That's shaking the tree. Everybody follow me?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's learn something real fast. Like I said, now imagine my school. You just crossed the bridge. You killed all those ants, right?
Yes.
Because we don't want you to fight for your limitations. Okay? We don't want anybody to fight for your limitations. If you fight anyone who fights for his limitations, what happens? Gets to keep them. So we want to kill all these negative, all these automatic negatives. Who's coming with these automatic negative thoughts? Who's the one?
We are.
No. Shaitan. Shaitan, he's the only one that has what is it? Yeah, I mean, he gets benefit about you not learning. You get my point?
No.
He profits from it. That's part of his objective, is to limit your life. When I say life, I don't mean the lifespan, but your ability to live. And that's what we're really teaching, is how to be alive and to face the unknown end, the reality now, being present. They say someone has presence. What does that mean? That's al-mu'minul haqqa. That's a true believer, the one who understands and he's in the moment. He's there. He has presence of thought in real time, realizing that if he lifts his foot, he could pass away. And if his foot is up, before he puts it down, he could pass away. So if you realize that, what does that make this moment? Precious. Fragile. Right? Especially since you know you will be judged by it. Does that make sense? The whole tone of your life is taken based on the moment of your death. But that's understandable. Let's say we have a child. You got 5 phone calls while you were at work that this child has been cutting up. Cutting up. And you're going to cut him up when you get home. Right? You got your belt ready. And then you walk in the house and the child is in salah. Does that set the tone for your anger? That moment you walked in, that child's off in salah making dua. Oh, you still gonna whoop him? But I bet you there's gonna be more compassion. And if you can think about that, then that's our life. No matter what you done did, it's taken in the tone of the moment, what you were doing at the moment of death. Okay? This is part of our aqidah, that your whole life is just not discussed, but taken into consideration based on your last moments. And that's why the last moment of your life is so vital. وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. And don't you dare die. Allah threatens us. Don't you dare let death take you. Except at that moment, you're doing something that is submitting to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You guys understand my point? Now, if you're in that moment, and also you add to that the angels are there. Right? Look at all the angels in this room. Use your mind. Know that Allah sees you, even though you can't see him. And know it, meaning be in the presence of mind. What did Allah say? What ihsan was? Allah's messenger said? And ta'budullaha ka'annaka tarahu. To worship Allah as though you can see Allah. You're on a low stage, Allah is on the high one. He can see you. But even though you know you can't see Allah, what do you know? Meaning that your reality is that Allah can see you. So you show off. That's right. Show off. But who are you showing off for?
Allah.
Allah. So you don't care about the people in the cheap seats, right? They're not paying you. You're not even paying attention to them. You're paying attention to the big spender, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I say the way you defeat riyah and showing off is to show off to Allah. You want to show off to someone less than Allah? Show off to the angels. Because they're recording it. And it's easy because the mind, the psychology is good for showing off, right? We want to do good when we know that somebody important is watching. So this is the state of mind. The presence that the believer, the talib al-ilm, has to have at all times. That this is being recorded. Allah's messenger said, you will see yourself. You will see every interaction you did. You will see your arguments just like you see the sky in the noonday. Right like that, it will be reenacted for you. And then at that time, they didn't have movies and cinema and DVDs. So that was amazing for them. But is that amazing for us? Is that hard when we ourselves can do that? Ask anybody in the federal prison on a RICO Act. And they got recordings and pictures of them doing whatever crimes they was caught doing, right? They will let you know, man, no places. Look at the cameras everywhere, right? So if that's what human can do, what can Allah do? Imagine. And Allah doesn't need those devices. So part and parcel of being a Talibul Ilm is having that presence of mind in real time, all the time, focusing and showing off for Allah at every moment, knowing it could be his last. The biggest thing we find people saying, losers, I thought it wouldn't happen to me. I didn't think it would happen to me. So they don't prepare. They ain't ready. I didn't know it was going to happen so quick. Don't be that person. That is the loser. The winner is ready. وَرَابِطُوا وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. Allah tells us, Isbiru wasabiru what? Rabitu. Be ready. And we learn now all these big wigs with their newfound techniques. They say that the excellent person, I'm using my terminology, he's already prepared, he's looking for opportunity. The loser's looking for opportunity and then he gets ready. It don't work that way. You got to be ready. And so that when opportunity comes, hesitation? You have no reason to hesitate because it's real for you. Okay? It's not a performance. It's just your actual habit, your regular rundown. Does everybody follow me? Yes. Okay. So, no ants. One of the things that, let me give you a few things. F, A, I told you I was going to teach this to you before, right? ST, I taught you the F. What does the F stand for? What does this read? F-A-S-T. Fast. Let me teach you something real fast. Okay? F stands for what? No. Forget. Didn't I tell you when you come to class, this is the adab in the classroom. When you come into class, what's the first thing I want you to do? Forget. Forget three things. What's the first thing I want you to forget?
What's going on out there?
Whatever's going on out there. In the time of the Imam Malik was teaching a class, the students were around them, and there was a road right outside them. And the Amir al-Mu'mineen came by with his huge entourage. Not one of the students picked his head up and turned around. Because they were doing something more important than that. They was in class. Not one of the students turned around and said, what is that? Oh, that's the Amir. Oh, mashallah. But if Donald Trump came by, would we turn around? We want to go see? I mean, maybe because it's Trump, just saying, I'll forget it, But some people might. What about Obama? Because sadly, some Muslims don't put Obama in the proper context that they should. Of course, we love the fact that he was a brother, but he openly killed more people in an illegal fashion than any other president before him. And he did nothing for African American people in the United States. And the fact that African Americans didn't say anything makes it impossible for them to say something about any of the other people that come afterwards that don't do nothing for us. Because now they can throw that in your face. Well, you ain't say nothing about the brother. You the racist. Which is, it's not true, because racism is from someone in influential power, quote unquote. But you get my point? Now your argument is gone. Because of that. But my point is about this, forget about everything that's going on out there. Not just in the street, but in your head. Whatever problems you have, forget it. Forget what you know about the subject. Okay? Because you won't be open to learn nothing new. If you already know so much and you got it on there brimming at the rip of all the stuff you know, right? So then you're going to start arguing with the teacher. Well, that don't fit because I already got my cup full. Does that make sense? Yes. So these are some of the things I want you to forget, and forget your limitations so that you can be ready to go forward.
So the 3 was limitations, and what was the other 2?
Not
Get what you know.
You need to take notes. Let me teach you guys how to take notes real quick. This is also from the adab of the class. Let me erase this one. We'll come back to this. This is what I was going to do first, because I want you to learn this. And then we'll come back to this. Take notes. You have to, when you take notes, put a line down the middle of your page. You have 2 sides of your brain, right, doctor?
Yeah.
Okay, so your right side is supposed to be your creative side, right? Left side is your critical, literal side. So on the left side of the picture, you take critical note. Take literal notes, okay? Literal notes. But not only do I want you to take quotes, I want you to take down thoughts, ideas that you got from the quotes. Because what they found is that quoting, taking notes from quoting, doesn't benefit as much as taking the thought down in your own words. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now on this side over here, I want you to write down your feelings. How did it make you feel? You get my point, guys? I want you to write, here's the creative side. This is your creative. Let me just put creative. They call this capture. You're capturing, over here you create. Okay, capturing and creating. Over here you're capturing reality, literal quotes and thoughts and ideas that the teacher promoted. Over here you're creating notes. You're not taking notes, what are you doing? Creating notes here. Because this is your right side of your brain. Now, I told you that you'll never learn You'll never learn knowledge except for using 6 things, right? One of them was husnul su'al, making a beautiful question, right? Don't nod your head, does that mean?
Yes.
Okay, now, the beautiful questions, it comes in now. You create the questions. You like that? Write questions that you know the answers to, but they pop up in your mind on this side because you're creating. But I'm going to tell you something. Write how, when, I forgot myself.
And why?
No, why? Why is the first one. This is why I did it. Why, how, and when. These are the questions I want you to make initially. Why, how, and when. Okay? This is just to get you started. And then also write how it made you feel. What do you feel about it? Okay? That's on this side right here. Draw pictures, whatever you want, but it has to be related to over here. You guys see the 2 types?
Yeah.
Now, what do you mean how, why, and why do I need to know this? Okay? How am I going to use this? Or how do I use this? When am I going to use this? You guys get my point?
Yes.
Because now this gives you a reason to know it. And I told you before, reasons reap results, right?
Yes.
So you got good reasons when you got good questions about it. Now, you are not limited to this. But this is how you take notes. Everybody follow me?
Yes.
And this is only here in the classroom. When you get home, you have to spend time with your notes. Okay?
Yes.
You have to read them. They call it the 3 R's. Anything, even with reading a book, the way you regurgitate it is they call it 3 R's. You read it first, right? Then you write something about it. Okay? Then you relay it to somebody else. Those are the 3 R's. You do the same thing with your notes. You ever meet people and they tell you, man, last week I was in, St. Augustine and I had a great time with my cousin and my man, 50 grand and all this other stuff like that. They spend 10 minutes telling you about that. Well, you do the same thing. Say, hey, man, I read this excellent book last week. Okay? And let me just tell you about it. You get it? You read it? You wrote your notes about it, right? And then you're now relaying it. Now with Twitter and Instagram and all stuff, you can do a little bit of tweetable. Hey, man, I remember I learned this. So you don't have to say I learned it. Just put it down, because once you agree with it, it's yours. Does that make sense?
Yes.
A lot of times people want to say, well, so-and-so, it don't make a difference who said that. Do you believe it? Then it's your statement.
Right.
They call that synergism. You've now captured it, you added to what you know in your world, and now you're passing it on. By doing that, you will remember it. Okay? You will remember it more. Everybody follow me? I don't think so.
Yes.
Yeah, stand up, everybody. Stand up.
Yes.
Everybody. Ladies, do not get a break. Islam does not have a different criteria for the scholar, male or female. It's all the same. Now, again, with the right and left brain, I want everybody to just kick their foot over to their right side and left side, if you can. If you can't, just move around a little bit. And swing your arms. So, hey, you young guys are moving slower than the 70-year-olds. You know? Come on, bend your legs, man. All right, everybody sit down. That's right. But you know what you just did?
Woke up.
Excuse me? Blood to your brain, those things, that helps because you know, any movement for the heart helps the brain bring us. But that's not why we did that. Clear that mind. I just told you about right side and left side brain. Right? When you move your lower body over to cross the body, you make the right side talk to the left side. Okay? This is thought kinetics. It makes your brain talk to each other. After you learn something, this is, again, the mechanics of making it stay. Okay, because now it's just like downloaded. You get my point, guys?
Yes.
An hour worth of studying does not benefit like 350 or 4 15-minute cycles where you take a break each moment. Because there's a thing what we call primacy and recency. Anybody ever heard about this in learning? As the doctor says, yes, of course. You know, but it's true because you do learn about it in medical school and stuff like that. You learn everything about learning because there's so much things that you have to remember. Primacy means what? You remember the first thing that happened, and recency means you remember the last thing. What happens to stuff in the middle? A lot of that fizzles, right? If someone brings it up, you might remember it. If not, you lose it. So by stopping and starting, you bring up a lot of beginnings and endings. You get it?
Yes.
And you have more of a chance of remembering more. Those people who say, I'm going to cram the night before and they spend 6 hours studying, they only remember the first and the last part. The rest of that stuff is fuzz. But if they took breaks in between each one of those sessions, took break, got some water, moved around, closed their eyes for 10, 15 minutes, got up and did it again, they have a lot of beginnings and endings. You get the point?
Yeah.
So technique, Ranger, you have to find the right technique. You know, it's not just, you know, desire and motivation. You have to have purpose and what?
Direction.
Direction, which we're talking about is the mechanics. Does everybody follow me?
Yes.
Okay, let's say a lot of times we talk all this stuff, but when it comes down to the actual application, people say, come to me and say, Albert Taubah, you ain't, like, come on, what you say? You ain't just common sense stuff you're teaching. Ain't nothing slick. There's an old statement that says, common sense ain't common practice. You guys get my point?
Yes.
So the reminder benefits the believer, the one who believes, and it irritates the munafiq. Okay, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to see you get out of that situation because they hate him. So, and taking advantage of the foggy areas. So I'm telling you these things not for any other reason but to make it happen. Okay? Through action. Now, I can't force the action. No matter, I can sit here and talk myself purple. But unless you are ready to multiply it with action, activity, it's not going to happen. So now let's go back. Can I erase this?
Yes, sir.
All right, now we know how to take notes. Well, this is just a technique. And I'm saying this now because when I went to school, you know, I went to school in the 70s. You know, in the 80s, you know, I mean, I got out of school in 85. Right now, of course, we went to college and stuff like that afterwards. But when did you learn all this stuff that you learned? You know, so we're still thinking in the way that we were taught back in those days. Today, how much has changed in the last 20 years with the computer? So that we need to revamp what they call, sharpen our saw on the techniques that we use to take in information. Or we still using an 80s or 70s technique in a 2019 on the Kaffir calendar? You get my point, guys?
Yes.
So, you know, we have to adjust. If you don't adjust, just like whatever happens in when they talk about the Neanderthal man, you become, you become worthless. No one, needs you anymore because you're not relevant.
You become extinct.
Extinct is the term that I was looking for. Or just stank. You get my point? Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
See, this is the thing. I already said that learning is not a spectator sport. You have to be involved. This is the F. The F is forget. What is forget? Outside, right? Outside, in your mind, family, whatever.
Yes.
Forget limitations, right?
Yes, and what you know about the subject.
And what you think you know.
Yes. Empty your cup.
Think you know. This is it right there. That's what you got to forget. The A, it stands for activity.
Activity.
Say it.
Activity.
Learning is not a spectator sport. See, when we were taught in school back in the days, we were taught to do what when we sat in the classroom? Doctor. What were we told to do in the classroom?
Be quiet.
Thank you. If I know that in the schools that I went to, if you were a black male, you were told to shut up, be quiet, stop calling out. Even the girls had a better chance than we did. You know? But you were not allowed to talk. And if you called out, 45, go to the dean's office, all that type of stuff. You're disruptive and all this type of stuff would made you feel, let me just be quiet, sit through the class, not make no noise, get my 75, 85 and get out of here. Right?
Yes, that's right.
That's the mentality. And nowadays they got to worry about going to jail when they go to school. Right? All we had to worry about is getting a letter sent home. But that was bad too. Because if the letter came home, there was no problem with your parents beating you back in those days. So.
There was no child abuse.
No, you just went to school with whelps. Seriously, am I right or wrong? Right. That's why nobody was really tough when I went to school, because everybody said, ow, yeah. Oh. How tough you could be and you show up to school with whelps. Even though Islam, that's not correct to whelp up a child. But, I'm not going to say I didn't deserve it. So activity. The activity here is that you're involved with it. You're saying it when the teacher says it. You're writing down. You're thinking about it, because thinking is an activity. Does that everybody follow me?
Yes.
Okay. S stands for what?
Safety.
No.
I don't know. I just wanted to say something.
State dependent.
State dependent.
Your state of mind when you're taking in the information, right? Because we said information plus emotion equals
Long-term memory.
long-term memory. So if you're in a bad state of mind, if you're in a negative state of mind, if you're in a traumatic state of mind, what's that going to do for the information?
It's going to short it out.
Sure, that's going to make it traumatic too, because you're going to tie that emotion to that. But who controls your state?
You do.
Why?
Because you control your state because you're a thermostat.
You're a thermostat. You control the temperature around you, right? Yes. If you don't like the friends and what they're doing, what do? Get a new bunch of friends, right? You control the state. You don't like the conversation? Leave it. You don't gotta say something. Okay? Every time we think I gotta say something, no, you ain't gotta say nothing. Just go. Sometimes silence is better. So, state of mind. I wrote state dependent. All learning is state dependent. Write that down. All learning is state dependent. And we're talking about state of mind here. And the T is teach. Teach it. Tell it. Okay? I ran down a whole bunch of things for the Talibul Ilm today, right? These are the mechanics. These are the workings.
Excuse me, brother. You're saying something I can't quite understand. Talibul Ilm?
Talibul Ilm, yes. Talibul Ilm. In Arabic, it's Talibul Ilm. A student of knowledge should quickly acknowledge that manners are key when gathering knowledge. So this is what a talibul ilm, someone who is seeking knowledge. And knowledge is beneficial, what you can use, not just information. Okay? Does everybody follow me?
Yes.
So we learned a few things real fast. right? We learned to forget, right? We learned about activity, being active with what we learned through writing it down, right? Through talking about it, through reciting what the teacher says, watching the teacher, right? You know, all these things make you interactive with the knowledge that you're dealing with at the time. Getting up and moving around, because if I say, you know, get into a position where you can relax and go to sleep, you would change your body language, right? If I say get into a position and we're about to crash the plane, and you get into a different position to protect it's all, your body has something to do with it, is my point. Now get in a position where you are in a happy mood, where you're in a childlike state, a learning state. Write that down. You know, you're in a childlike learning state. You're in a state of fascination. You get my point?
Yes. Under state dependent.
Under state, well, I said all knowledge is state dependent, right? But yeah, under state. Well, state is just general term, a concept that I want you to understand. I want you to get in a childlike learning state. Why is it a childlike learning state?
They don't have the baggage of...
Hold on, sir.
Everything's fascinating.
For a child, right? Who are the quickest learners?
Children.
Children. Why? Because they empty the cup. When they come up, and they're ready. It's not their brains. It's not their brain. It's their attitude. It has nothing to do with their brains, because they don't know nothing.
It may not be developed.
Some of them it's developing. By the time they're 6, their minds is set. Okay? I mean 7, I should say. By the time the child gets to the 7 mark, their mind takes a different stage. So under 7, I should say, there's a different mind for the child. Yes, it's developing. And part of that is understanding reality. That's why it's different for a child. That's why you should never scare a child under 7. If you want them to be brave, never scare them. They won't know fear. Does that make sense? Yes. So there are things we need to study, child psychology or infant psychology, until now 7 going forward is a different world. They can learn so much, but so can you. We're talking about neurogenesis, right? You know, making new brain cells. You make new brain cells by learning new things. One of the ways they're teaching people now to stop Alzheimer's and dementia, what are they telling them to do?
Learn a new language.
Thank you. They're telling them to learn a new language. Okay? Something that we here think is difficult. But they're saying this will stave off Alzheimer's and dementia. Why? Because you're making new brain cells. Okay? By doing this. Now, if someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's can do it, then I don't hear nothing from you guys. I don't hear no ants. When we start learning, I can't, no, we can't do that. But the only thing we don't have is excuses. That's the only thing we don't have. Okay? Now, and I got that from, well, I think it's the brother, I forget the brother's name, but he does this thing called Islam in Spanish. I went and visited them out in Texas. He told me the only thing we don't have is excuses. An excuse. And I thought that was so profound. You know, because we have everything. You know, except an excuse not to succeed. And we keep programming ourselves with somebody who told us that. Someone who had a benefit in keeping us programmed to believe that we could not and should not succeed. A lot of people don't succeed, not because they don't have the capabilities, because they don't believe they deserve it. And that's been taught. Okay? Does that make sense? Yes. This caste system. You stay in your place. They ain't never going to let you get up. Yeah, this is programming. To believe that. We don't believe none of that. You know, alhamdulillah. We are mujahideen. We strive, fi sabilillah, with our whole life to do whatever Allah is going to allow us to. We don't know what that is. Right? So we face that unknown end every moment. Not every day. Living is in the moment. Right? Living is in the moment. I mean, that's real.
Yeah.
I saw a program. It's a Spanish movie. It's about a jailbreak where inside the jail, the guy falls in love with one of the people he's keeping hostage, right? So she says, now you want to, you know, we've been in this jail, this robbery now for, let's say, 24 hours. And in the 24 hours, you saved my life, you shot me, you know, and now you're telling me that you love me. He said, well, look, give me another 24 hours, we'll get married. 48 hours, we'll get divorced. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? What does time have to do with reality? You know what I'm saying? Well, with our reality, what's going on here. And I think that's real too. We keep worrying about something that may not come. Who here is promised to live tomorrow? Nobody. Think about you. Don't think about nobody. Think about yourself. Reality. You know, and that's a scary reality, isn't it?
Yes.
And I'm not trying to be negative. Barakallah fina. May Allah bless us and allow us to have a long, healthy life. And productive, more important than all of that. But we are only going to be able to do that if we do that. And if we don't wait to do that. You guys follow me?
Yes.
All right. So, forget, have activity. Remember that all learning is what? And then teach and tell it, and test on it, pass it on. Okay? You don't do that, then you get it. Remember how to make the page when you take your notes and everything like that. Remember, if you don't like your friends, get new ones. Okay? Meaning, if you don't like where you're at, change your friends. Because you're the 5th of your 10 friends. That's the 10-5 rule right there. You're the average of your 10 friends. How much money they make, you make an average of that. How much problems and stuff and hang-ups they got, you got the average of that. Okay? So get some friends, and I'm not talking about family, because you know, everybody got their own crazy when it comes to family. You know, but there's nothing you don't pick your family. Okay? You just be nice to them old crazy folk, you know, and enjoy them. You know, because a lot of times people have problems with their family until they pass away, and then we miss them so much. You know, and then we remember all the good things that they do and how they made us feel so good. So I'm not talking about family, but I'm talking about that 5'10". No, people, Abu Taubah told me to leave my family. I did not tell you to leave your family. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
My question is,
no, I can't take your ums.
My question is regarding activity. I just put down to be engaged.
I mean, that's what you feel. Remember, I said when we take the notes, you put that there. Okay? Activity is a term, a concept, an idea. Okay? Now, being engaged is part of it. But I'm talking about the active. When you're learning something, be active in it by taking notes, right? By applying it, thinking over it. There's lots of ways that you can be active. Don't restrict it to my mentality. You see, when they talk about the 7 habits of the most effective people, there's one of the habits, the 7th habit, is called synergism. Anybody ever heard of that? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. No, I said yes.
Okay. I was about to say, we're in official capacity, you know, officer. You know, listen. Synergism is to take everything that you know, right? After this is the second part, right? I said you empty your cup. Now I'm saying you go home, and I said you look at those notes again, right? And when you look at those notes, you can put it in your own book. But I look at it like this. I put it on my own canvas. I have a canvas over here, and I have a new color. And I see how I can put that into my, artwork. How I can work that. Now it's my flavor. That's why I don't like to say who said what. Because it doesn't make a difference who said it. I said it right now. Now you think about it. Because what happened in the late 90s and the 2000s in the Kafir calendar, we began to quote people and base the intelligence of the statement based on who said it as opposed to what was said. And then this technique is used at times as like a magical tool to get people to comply without them thinking about what they're agreeing about. Right. So if we take away who said it and think about what was said, now you have to be active in thinking, what does that mean to me? You get my point? And do I agree with that? As Albani, rahimahullah, he's the one who taught us that concept. He said, don't worry about who said it. What was said? Because your knowledge is what, now we're talking about cynicism, your knowledge is what will determine if that was praiseworthy or depraiseable. That statement. You get my point? Yes. So, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. That's what active is. Synergizing. Taking the sum of everything you know and adding that new knowledge to it and changing it. Now it has a different meaning because your experiences are not mine. And now when you teach it back to me, I can smell what you learned, but it has a different tone to it because you brought it out now in your own flavorful way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Hey, wallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم.